Welcome to Beyond Talking Points from Little Visionaries Bookstore. I'm Bridgitte Jackson-Buckley, and today I'm speaking with Penney Peirce. Penney Peirce is a respected clairvoyant, empath, visionary, author, and popular lecturer and trainer. Penney is the author of 10 books, including Transparency, Leap of Perception, Frequency, and The Intuitive Way. Today, Penney and I will discuss transparency, seeing through to our expanded human capacity. Welcome, Penney.
Hi.
So happy to have you. Okay, so first, before we get into my comments about when I read Transparency a few years ago and didn't know what you were talking about, can you briefly explain what is transparency? What are you referring to with transparency, seeing through to our expanded human capacity?
Yeah, well, I've been writing basically about the transformation process in almost all my books, even The Intuitive Way. Intuition is a big piece of learning about transforming yourself. And Transparency is the last in the series so far. They keep coming in bit by bit. But the idea here is that as you clear yourself of fear, and get rid of I call it the clutter, that's in the way of the soul coming through the body and personality. There's almost like this layer of fear in between, right? That it's like I think of it like a sieve, and it has holes in it. The sieve has holes, and that's where the light gets through. That's where the soul's consciousness makes it through all of the old belief systems and fear-based ideas and old habits and things that are blocking things. So the idea of transparency is to get rid of the solid parts of the sieve, so that it's totally open and clear. And that means that the soul is, you understand that the soul is in the body, that you are the soul. You don't have a soul, it's not like a thing that you have, like a car. You are it, but you don't really realize it because we have such a strong left brain and are in our mind. Mm-hmm. So transparency is, I thought I would try to describe that state of becoming clear and what that would be like and how that might affect the way we do things. In ordinary things we take for granted, but we're looking at them from that partial clarity, that old perception. So that's really the whole book is about. And when you become clear, you have a lot more abilities, wisdom, talent, all kinds of things are suddenly there for you that have always been there, but you couldn't see them.
Okay, I totally understand. Okay, so you're saying transparency is becoming clear. It's becoming the you with the capital Y.
Right.
The you that you truly are when the soul can actually, I guess, have a presence in your life because
it's you, the soul. Mm-hmm. Who am I? I'm the soul. I'm here right now, translating into 3 dimensions. Into a personality in a physical body, but I am here doing this, right?
Mm-hmm. So what's blocking the sieve? Like, what's all the stuff that's like what's all the clutter in the sieve, like beliefs and
right? Well, I think it all comes from the fact that when we're in the physical world, everything looks like it's separated, right, by empty space, right? So I'm here and you're over there, but you're in the outside world and I have my inside world, and the outside world is not safe. It could hurt me, that, people, you never know what they're going to do, or they could attack me, or we could have a terrible storm and a tree would fall on my house. And, so that we've over eons have come to perceive the physical world as a dangerous place. And, and so we've made up a lot of behaviors and belief systems and habits to try to medicate ourselves or prevent things or stay in control of life, when of course you really can't that way. But that's all the shadowy, solid kind of stuff that acts as the sieve, the solid part of the sieve. So it's a lot of belief systems, and sometimes they're so, well, we're seeing it now in the great polarization that's happening right now, is that people are retracting into their belief systems in a very vehement way, because they think their survival depends on upholding those beliefs, and they're getting farther and farther away from transparency by doing that.
Okay. So it's having an awareness that although it looks external and separate, it has the external appearance and it appears to be separate, but it's really not, because the inner fully creates the outer. And you're saying that we've adapted, just living in society in this world where it does appear to be that, there's a threat around every corner, especially the time that we're living in right now. So you're saying, although it could be a time or an opportunity for true clearing, for all that stuff to come up, some people might be really retreating into the rigidity of beliefs and habits.
Yes. Yeah. I think, it's a really important time that we're living in, because we're able to get the consciousness about how those fears formed. And that really the truth is that, a lot of people only see the outside, quote, outside physical world and think that's all there is. Well, we forgot we have a soul, like it's just, it doesn't look like there's too much unless you're in a religion that tells you all the formulas of the way you're supposed to behave. But I think that reliance on too much structure, that's a physical way of trying to be safe. But when you start getting quiet and meditating, or closing your eyes and realize there's a whole inner world there when you close your eyes and you're not connected out there. You have inner thoughts, inner feelings, inner spirit, inner everything. And, you can sense things a lot when you go into that inner world. And there are principles that govern the way that energy and consciousness, which is the inner world, functions,
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the whole new reality that we're exploring. And then the next piece of that is that we're starting to see that inner world actually creates the outer world, or precipitates the outer world. So if you have a lot of clutter, you're going to create a reality that's very blocked, and more suffering and frustration. The clearer you get, the more your reality functions smoothly, with luck even, it's just because you're not working against yourself. You're not blocking the flow.
So all the clutter could appear as if something is happening to you. Like, oh, she just has all the bad luck, that poor thing.
Yes, that's part of it. Victimization is one half of it, where it's poor me, look at what's happening to me, I have no power. Or you're the narcissist, whereas I have all the power and I'm controlling everybody in the whole reality. And we're seeing reality breaking into these two polarities right now. Right. A lot of dictators rising, and look at, the wars and the politics. And then we have a lot of victims, people who are, trying to get their power back. So that's part of what I think is happening right now, is this is being highlighted so that we can see that these two roles or positions are actually related to each other.
And 2020 was really the catalyst, the year of 2020, clear seeing.
Absolutely.
Truly see what's there. Like, that experience was the catalyst for you to truly look at everything.
Yes.
Personal life, but on a societal level as well.
Well, it took something like COVID to cause people to have to stop, and then what do I do? Oh, well, I guess I could meditate or garden or something, and be in nature a little more without having to train for a marathon,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it got rid of a lot of the willpower that was going on and distracting us from the clutter.
Yeah.
So now the clutter all comes up and everybody's, now they're still trying to process all this that's coming out, but it had to come up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's take a step back for a minute because you wrote Transparency several years ago. And like
Right.
at the beginning, I read it. I mean, of course, I know the difference between an information age and an intuitive age, which you write about in the book, that's what this transformation is about, or one part of it.
Mhm.
I was just like, what is she talking about with the transparency? So it seems like you were writing about this and talking about this before many of us knew what was coming. So how did you come to write this book? Like, how did this information come to you?
I don't know. I sometimes I just ask myself questions, and then I have this, I call it my inner perceiver, or it's an inner voice, or it's me, the soul, or me, the group that I belong to somewhere out there. I don't know. But then it starts to answer. And once I start writing off it, it just takes off. And more and more and more stuff starts coming through. It's almost like you just have to jumpstart something and then it goes. But I had been writing about transformation and the right brain and intuition for many, many years. And as I would write that, I would start to get insights, about the fact that we were becoming more and more clear, that clearing was the big deal right now. That you don't have to really learn anymore. You have to get rid of the things that are blocking what you already know.
Right.
Yeah.
So becoming and being transparent, it's not necessarily going to be a smooth path to walk. It's not just this. I think on Wednesday I'll start being transparent. It's just not going to work like that. No matter how many years you've been, practicing your spiritual practice. So can you give us some examples of what it looks like to be transparent in a society, a family, or even a business or personal relationship that may not value authenticity?
Oh boy. Yeah. But let me go back just a minute to what you said about it not necessarily being an easy path.
Yeah.
I think you have to make a decision that you want to be clear, that you are sick of all the excuses and all the snags and all the stuff, that you are willing to have some change and for the better. It is a choice, and once you do that, then things will start to come up for you and you'll see, but they don't all come at once. It's like one issue comes up and you deal with it. But you first have to recognize that usually it makes you very uncomfortable and you don't want to deal with it. Then you recognize, oh, this is one of those things that I was asking to get rid of. And so then there are methods you can go in and look at it and see what was really all about. And is that even mine? Did I pick this up from my parents or from another lifetime or who knows what? And then you can start to distance yourself a bit from this is mine. It's everybody's. Do I want it? Do I want to hold it to myself and be this way? No, I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah.
And then when you let it go, you replace it with how you like to feel. I call that your home frequency. It's that state that you are the soul in the body. It's like a little child, a happy kid making a painting or something, just happy about yourself and being there. And that's a normal resting state. And when you get into the uncomfortable place, you can go back to the comfortable place and then look at the snag or whatever you want to call it. And then you'll have a lot of clarity. And it doesn't take a long time to clear these things, honestly. And so it is possible to speed the process up by not resisting the process.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And also by just, like you said, well, I think I'll be transparent today. Well, that's a good practice, actually. I think
Make this the declaration.
today I'm going to be authentic. And whatever I feel like I want to do, I'm going to do. If I want to say something, I'm going to say it. But with the goal toward being compassionate and kind,
Yeah.
not mean, and not striking out and hurting someone, but
Yes.
coming from a true place,
Okay,
So
yeah, I just want
that's
to
it up.
comment because I know there's the second part of the question about being transparent when it's not necessarily valued, but that's an excellent point. I'm so glad you brought that up, to make a decision, because that really makes it empowering. And then
Yeah,
you may not actually say the words, today I want to be clear. You might say, like, I'm interested in truth.
right,
I'm
right.
interested in knowing truth, experiencing truth, and being truth. And I find you said to emphasize compassion. Yes, but it does seem to me like you're when you're really trying to be transparent and authentic and sincere, that there's this balance that you have to walk, where you're not being like the narcissist and you're not being like right down the middle, like I'm doing what I love without appearing to be selfish and
Right. I think
all of that. Just
it helps to understand what ego feels like, because we all go into it, right? And it could be where you think, we said that already, where you think you're so great and you're in control of the world because I know everything and I can, manipulate and charm and whatever it is.
yeah.
Or I'm at the other end and I can't do anything. But that's still a dominating position, remember. Victimization is a control mechanism just as much as narcissism is, because I can make you help me and then I can reject you and I can do whatever I want, but I can hold this position as well.
Oh, I never thought about victimization as a form of control.
Oh, but my gosh, passive aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so they are, two sides of the same thing. And you'll often watch a narcissist play the victim role in order to get back in control as a narcissist. You watch politics and they go, oh, they did this to me, and I didn't get to do this. And then they get their sympathy back, right? And then they become the dominator again. It's a flip-flop thing. But once you realize that both positions are about ego, whether you don't have or you have a lot, whatever, that identity is a false identity. And then you can start to recognize yourself when you slide into either role and go, oops, there I go again. Just a minute, let me get back on center and just be my simple self. And, I'm connected. And then things can start to flow again without you trying to control.
That's the awareness. Yeah, that's the awareness. And the ego is the part of your mind that believes in separation and is in opposition to truth. It's that fearful side of your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about transparency is that when you really clear those ego positions and you go back into that center point of I always just call it your simple self, because you're just you, but within that simplicity is like wide-ranging talent and wisdom, and it's all there. You're connected to it. And when you need it, it comes through. If you don't need it, it stays on the shelf, and so you don't have to try to manipulate or control anything, because in that simple state, you're connected to all beings, to all time periods, to all dimensions, and you have access to anything you need, and everybody helps you. That's the nature of the spiritual realm. All things are interconnected and mutually supportive. You can't do something without helping someone else, and you can't do it without somebody giving to you at that moment either. So things happen much more effortlessly. If you need something, either you think of it and then you get it, or you just get it and you didn't know you needed it until you got it, and it works, and it's so much more peaceful and efficient and fun
Yeah.
to be transparent, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can relate to what you're saying because I've noticed what you're talking about. I've noticed like I'll say, oh, I want to do this or experience that. And like, I mean, like later that day or the next day, it's there. It's absolutely amazing. And just what I've been able to notice is the energy behind that I make that statement with. Like, am I making it, oh, I would love to, but the energy of feeling like I could never have it, it's never going to happen, or
Right.
I would love it and just let it go and make the statement with no attachment.
Right.
And then you're like,
Yes,
oh my
that's a
gosh, like
great
it showed
point,
up.
Bridgitte, because
Yeah.
if you're asking from the victim point of view, if you're asking from the dominator point of view, it's not really flowing to you. It's
Right.
like willpower is working, and you don't
Yeah.
need willpower anymore when you're
Yeah.
transparent. You just need choice,
Mhm.
right? You don't have to make it all work. Just ask and it is given. I mean, literally, whatever
Yes.
you need, if you think you need it or would have fun and joy creating with it, you've got it. And it's pretty fast now too, when you get all your excuses out of the way.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
said, it could be that same day or just a minute later or something.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, the way we're talking about it, because you've been reading and writing about this, as have I, it does sound actually very simple. And now it is starting to feel a lot simpler for me, but that's because I am more like there's a lot more letting go and surrender. And there's very little push. Like just if it is meant to be, it will be. Like there's a lightness. So what would you say for someone who is perhaps new hearing this conversation for the first time and they're like, what are they talking about? Things are easy and there's a flow and things.
Yeah.
Like, what would you
Yeah.
say?
Well, where my mind goes with that is that it has a lot to do with trust. And trust is a choice also.
Mm-hmm.
People that you prove it to me and then I'll trust,
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't work that way. I think you have
Because
to
when
have
you say that, you're already looking for it to fail.
That's right. Yeah. And I have a whole thing in transparency about radical trust, that you need to trust the flow, your own choices. I have this, I call it your inner perceiver. It's just a part of your inner self that helps you notice what you notice during the day,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody
Mm-hmm.
notices different things. You could go on the same walk and people would see different stuff because that's what they need for their consciousness that day. And so I trust that first. I made an agreement with myself. I will trust what I notice. And if I need to notice something else, I will. And if I don't need to know something, I won't notice it. That I trust what comes to me. And then I look at it and see why it came. And I work with it. So that's the first level of trust. And then I think the next level is that you trust the flow, the big flow, to bring you what you need. Like I had to have a plumber come in and I went through all these lists online and looked at them, and I was going to call one guy, and then my eye went to this other one and I just called them. And they came and they were the nicest people and they gave me a discount. And I was like, wow. So there's something about trusting that I don't need to be ripped off. Why? What good would that do me? Only if I were being really cheap myself would I get somebody who was doing that to me. So I don't really need that anymore. So that's universe. part of the trust is realizing that everything is kind of evolutionary. No matter if it looks like a snag or something negative, it's still helping you grow. It's there for a good reason. Mm-hmm. And then you have to trust other people because they're part of the flow. And what pops through their mouth is something you need to hear because we're connected. So you can start taking that on and on, but I think it helps to start paying attention to what is being brought to me.
Wow, you're making some really good points, Penny. Like two sides of dismissing things. Okay, so I really like that like to pay attention to what you're paying attention to. Because yes, I totally do that, but not only pay attention to it, but don't dismiss what you're paying attention to
Right.
because you don't know what it means in the moment, and know that even if it catches your attention and you're not sure why, it may become clear to you maybe a few days or weeks later, and you're like, oh, that's what it is. But that is also another point I want to make about dismissing, to not dismiss other people in your life. That's such a great point, because you can think, well, my awareness is a little higher, or like I've been books, I know. But if everybody's connected and everyone is a representation of the divine presence and they're saying something to you, it's a reflective universe. It's in your lane. There's something there for you.
Right. I mean, they are a mouthpiece for your higher consciousness.
Yeah.
If you can't hear it yourself, somebody will come and give it to you, whatever you need.
Yeah.
So you might as well think of their source as coming from the same source as you are, and vice versa. If you feel like saying something to somebody, I say, go ahead and offer it, but don't try to be right about it,
Yeah. And they could say something to you and it could come with a ping or a punch. The ping like, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. And the punch being like that little trigger that, but both of them are jewels.
Right. But when it happens that way, you can learn to recognize their ego is in it.
Yeah.
They have ego involved. Doesn't mean the message is wrong, but it might be skewed because of their ego. And you can feel it when that starts happening.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't.
There's a charge. It's like they say, well, this statement is charged. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if we're saying you can feel it, this is what you're talking about for moving from the information age to the intuition age.
That's one of the good big things about it. Also, the ability to work with your right brain, not just your left brain. The right brain is how you access intuition and the totality and the direct feeling state of being merged with something, like immersed in the field. Part of it, not apart from it, looking at it like it's separate. You are it. And then you could speak as whatever it is. And things very deeply, personally. Everything that was impersonal becomes personal, and what's personal becomes impersonal. It's all there. But yet what's interesting is your body and your personality regulates the flow of all that, because otherwise you'd be so overwhelmed you couldn't function. So in the moment, whatever you need comes through. And that's, when you're transparent, then you see, you trust that. And so you don't worry so much about having to know everything. When you need to know it, it'll come in as a kind of, an aha.
Wonderful. So so what has been the most surprising or unexpected part of your spiritual journey, Penny? I know you probably have a lot.
Well, what part of this odd is I never had any big dramatic things to open me. It just was like this steady little, oh now this, and I would get enlargements to my explanation of how things work, but I wouldn't lock it down. And then I'd go and something else would happen. It was like making a big stew, and adding another ingredient or spice into it. And go, okay, now it tastes like this. And it just keeps going that way. So that's one interesting insight, because I knew a lot of people who, like fell off a ladder and conked their head and became psychic, or something, and I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
It was just normal person, And that means to me that everybody can do it. It's not a weird thing. So that it's not a huge insight, but it was an orientation for me that I think is important. Kind of adds to that simplicity thing. Also, that thing I said about when I would start writing about something, like in my book, Leap of Perception, where I'm trying to explain the change of consciousness from linear perception to spherical and holographic. And I didn't even know what spherical and holographic was, but it was like, I'm going to write, what is that? How does it work? You know? And as I started, I got this flow of people saying that it was a brain change. And then it explained the whole brain thing to me. You know, so that was pretty crazy.
So during this time of transformation, Penny, everything that has not been dealt with on an unconscious and subconscious level is coming up to be seen. Like we talked about, it's really a time to reevaluate our beliefs and determine if what we believe or hold true is working for us, and if possible, to actually let the moment of change us. So this is what you were talking about when you were saying, like, clearing your clutter, letting that stuff clear so that the soul can actually come through.
Right.
What would you say to someone who might be feeling emotionally or mentally overwhelmed at this time? What would be a helpful piece of advice that you could give them, or a sharing, something that you could share?
I would say dial it back in to this present moment right here. And it's a very simple experience. When you start with just your body, your breathing, you look around without your left brain telling you that you have to do something about it or change it. You just sit in a kind of appreciation state and a noticing state. And just pretty much be at peace for the minute, because overwhelm is the left brain telling you too many things at once. And there's often a lot of shoulds involved. Oh, I should know this, or I should be like this, or here's a project I want to do, and I already know the final thing, but it's too big for me to even start, you know. and hey, start with one thing.
Yeah.
You know, write a title for the chapter, right? But something small, innocuous, simple, personal, and then be quiet and enjoy the fact that you just did that. Breathe, then look and see what's the next thing that feels like it would like to happen. But make it about self-entertainment or simple pleasure, you know, that you get to have fun. It's not, you know, you're not having to compete or be perfect or whatever, all that, or oh, the world situation, you know, I don't have to look at all of it right now.
No.
And or I can look at an overview and see the longer stretch where everything actually does unroll and works out, you know. But simplify is my advice.
I like that. Simplify, and also, you know, probably not, I just keep going back to not thinking that it's selfish to take care of yourself in this time. You know,
No.
it's just, it could be a walk, meditating.
Right. Well, you have, it's part of the oscillation of life. We're personal, we're in our own self, we're with a relationship, we're with a small groups, we're with large groups, you know, we're just by ourselves being creative with the, you know, the Holy Spirit or whatever we want to call it, you know. So there are all kinds of different focal lengths on our lens, you know, and so you need all of them, and in whatever order they want to come. There's no rule about it, you know.
Yeah. I love the openness of this and the sincerity of it all. And I think that being authentic and transparent, like, that is the consciousness that is the new map for the modern world. Like, you want to be open, you want to be collaborative, you want to know that you are not ever alone and that we're all truly connected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same old thing that, you know, spiritual people and have been saying for eons, you know, thousands of years. But now we're getting the feeling state of it more. It's not just words up here, you know, it's like landing.
Yes.
In us.
Yes, yes, it is. It feels like it's really anchoring, like something new and profound is truly happening right now.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, we hope you enjoy listening to this conversation with Penny Peirce. Little Visionaries is an independent bookstore that, beyond selling books, hosts community-focused interviews and author events. Remember, the best way to support your local independent bookstore and the community we serve is as simple as buying a book. For many years, Penny has taught and counseled thousands of people internationally in all walks of life. She is one of the early pioneers in the intuition development movement, specializing in expanded perception, energy dynamics, dream work, and transformation. She helps leaders, professionals, artists, and those on a spiritual path discover the hidden dynamics of what makes for true success. Penny was educated at the University of Cincinnati, the New School for Social Research, Columbia, and California Institute of the Arts. You can learn more at pennypeirce.com. Thank you, Penny.
Oh, thank you so much. That was really fun.